All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell as usual. It's Monday morning, going to be a bench press day. So, to remind you guys in the title, we got 3 open slots for coaching right now. It's really cold out there, but when I went outside to check, it didn't seem that cold. So, hopefully, I'll just bench press in my shorts. I'm going to keep working up my big 3. Goal is going to be to recomp a little bit, try to stay at this body weight. Gain muscle, lose fat, get those big 3 up. We see my squat coming back up. So I think we're in a good place there with everything. Definitely in a good place. So I think some stuff I've been thinking about, like when I did a video for you guys yesterday on leverages, I started thinking, I'm not doing myself any favor by doing the hardest version of lifts. So like as far as outreach goes, no one cares that, oh man, he did a high bar without sleeves or whatever. Get it to 500, 525. Doesn't matter. People just want to see big numbers. I've noticed that, like literally, haters will compare me to someone using elbow sleeves. It's like, come on, guys. Like that doesn't count. Like that's not even a real lift. But so I think with a lot of this, I probably just need to, for my big lifts, start just hitting stuff, doing leverage advantages, and then just focus hypertrophy everywhere else, right? As long as I get big on everything else. So it's like I've been over here high bar squatting and I like it. And I think high bar squat's great for size, especially building your quads, but so are the machines. So I almost feel like maybe I should just come in, just start low bar squatting, just like you saw me do in the demonstration video, which none of you watched, by the way. So if people don't have an excuse if they say, I don't understand squat leverages, I mean, I gave you a whole video on it yesterday. Gave you the whole thing, guys, breaking stuff down. Terms of footing and everything of why we do the things we do if we want to maximize leverages and force production, not just get big. So yeah, I think with some of that, I'm just going to work on all that. I'm just going to just lift the heavy weight on the big 3. All right. Power building anyways. It would behoove me. I mean, I'd also have been saying, I think I'm going to go mess with deficit deadlifts with a stiff bar this coming week. No, I probably shouldn't do that. I probably should just grab the straight up deadlift bar and just pull. Keep it heavy. Do some really heavy top sets, right? Probably the way to go. It's just more impressive for the camera. But at the end of the day, if I step back on a powerlifting platform, that's what I'm going to have to do anyways. Just my thoughts when I really think about these things. Even though I might like high bar squats, I think they're great for quads. I think deficit deadlifts are great. We have all our supplemental work. But on that note, I really do have to push the good mornings up. So lifts that I'm going to have to push really hard with what I'm doing here. Definitely going to be good mornings are going to have to be pushed. I need the good mornings back in the 500s. Man, this is not a lively coffee chat so far. I need the good morning back 500 plus. Now we're on a path to get there. I did reps with 375 this week. After a couple of weeks of doing it again. So I need the good morning 500 plus. I need that floor press up in the 300s, right? I've hit 350 on a floor press before, right? About when I was bench 365. So I need to get that floor press back up into that range. Now, this will only be my second week doing it. Coach, how do you stay so strong year round? I lift heavy. I gain muscle. Good training. Then you should be strong year round. Why shouldn't you be strong year round? Okay. I know you're getting some of these other people. Well, I can only do this when I peak, like strapped on. Like, no, dude, you need to be that strong year round. You tell me you can bench 405, then you should be able to bench 405. Right? Come in and bench it. Pull the elbow sleeves off and bench it randomly, man. I don't believe that we need to do lots of peaking to stay strong. I don't think we have to peak. And I'm not saying I don't peak clients for meets. Sometimes I haven't. There are clients we just walk in and hit their normal gym lifts and we're good. But those are also guys who max out a lot frequently. But the same thing, like we're building Justin squats fixing to come way back up. I'm like, okay, we could plan around. Let's start doing rep work at 4 and 5 again this week, and let's take it back up. He didn't do any leg work for over 2 months, so he detrained. I'm not going to have a vlog for him this week. He didn't have time to film, but I do have his squat and deadlift set, his top sets. I'll probably put those up this week. And I'm still waiting on Alex for vlogs. But no, guys, you shouldn't have to. You should be strong all the time. I'm not saying you need to hit your all-time PRs, but we should be decently strong all the time. Should be able to put up big lifts. And I think we do need to remember certain all-time PRs. People are sometimes at a higher body weight or whatever. That I get. Totally makes sense. And then dieting down, yeah, you're going to lose some strength a little. But it shouldn't be dramatic, right? It shouldn't be dramatic. Like in my case right now, you guys have seen me do a top set with, 4 reps of 550 on a deadlift, or you see me rep it, pretty frequently. No, I'm not going around 600 plus, but we're still in shooting distance of that year round. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Right? That's what I'm saying. No, I probably can't quite bench 365 at the moment. I'm also lighter and leaner than when I did it. But you've seen me do 4 reps with 315. I've done 3 with 325. So we're within shooting distance of that, right? And that's what I'm talking about. And sure, you can peak a little bit and bring those things up. It's not going to be a 20% strength increase. So yeah, Peppermint, you need to just stay strong year round. Like, why aren't you strong year round? And I think that's what gets us too, is quick bulks and cuts are really, I think, what destroys us on this stuff too. If we just stay pretty similar body weights and either slowly go up or down, you also don't see the big fluctuations. Like my biggest set of strength loss was me cutting down from the 240s, but I dropped as low as like 204 at one point. And, now I walk around at 220-ish. So, that helps. But that's definitely a factor. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the squat now that I'm doing those levers. So the reason I made the leverage video too, I started messing around this weekend and realized once I stopped trying to incline bench and do all these in overhead press and all these movements that really my shoulders just get put super tight, I've noticed everything's loosened up enough that I can get under a low bar. And I did it with an empty barbell. So I'm like, this is a good time to make a leverage video. I can literally get into a low bar position now with an empty barbell. So I'm also thinking, for me, that's probably going to be a big game changer on the whole shoulder thing too. Starting to look at certain movements and say, okay, what's going to give me that best mobility return without inflaming anything? Because just making those minor changes has already allowed me to get a low bar squat on my back with an empty bar. I don't have to have 225 on there. Peppermint says, I bulked a lot last year and probably cut too fast too, but now I'm following your advice. Yep, that's the way to go, dude. Keep slow and steady wins the race. All of this is a long game. All this is a long game. Also, by the way, you guys noticed in the comments of one of my videos, Chris Jones came through and says, damn, looking good, bro, 100% or whatever. Again, it's kind of what I've been saying. It's why I laugh at when trolls come through and talk smack. I get a lot of compliments in person these days, a lot. And so it's just kind of funny, and then fans say this stuff. And then you always get these haters who are like, oh, you look terrible. I'm like, you're the only one saying it, and we get it. Like, and it's not an ego thing. I don't have that big of an ego about my physique. Like, I'm actually extremely self-critical. But I'm just saying, I don't see other dudes my age who look like I do. I just don't. I mean, not anywhere where I go, even if I walk into a gym. In general, they're just not. And if they're close, they're like a 5'5" NPC competitor on trend. It's like, just saying. And they're still fatter. Like, it's kind of strange. That's the interesting thing I've noticed with a lot of even the bodybuilders I bump into. They're off season, man. They're fatter than I stay at year round, which is like, I don't see how guys get away with that. I don't get it. Right? The amount of bulking and cutting even those guys do, it's like, man, how do you cut that hard every year then? And then just get sloppy again. Like, I wouldn't be able to handle that. Like that extreme cut every time. Now, granted, some of it could be a lot of boost from their drugs. I think that's a big factor. And maybe I'm not factoring that in. Hey, Francis, you're asking something about the dead bod thing. Go ahead and I'll let you finish it up. I don't have the thing turned on because I'm just getting rid of trolls now. I'm not put in the thing to restrict how often you can post. Just run with it, brother. Just run with it. Right. Oh man, I got to update. I have a client sheet I got to update. I'll get it after this chat. Mainly I needed to adjust his weights. One of my guys keeps trying to put his lifts without the barbell added. I'm having to adjust. I'm like, you got to stop doing that. Yeah. Any big difference between a muscle size between a 300 bench and a 315 bench? Yeah, possibly. In the same person, sure. There's going to be significant. I mean, Francis, you're talking about a year or more's worth of work. So let's break that into years. So let's assume you're not a genetic freak, right? So let's say we're talking the dad bod standard. So for you to go from a 300 bench is, let's say, an advanced lifter. So you're not a genetic freak. You've had to work for everything. Like, you're one of the guys who took at least a year to bench 225, maybe 2 years, right? So you're average Joe. So let's set aside the genetic freaks. Yeah. 1 to 2 years of work. I mean, realistically, like let's say it took you, because I don't want to set aside people with other genetic outliers, right? So let's say you don't have really long arms, and let's say it took you 7 years to get to a 300 bench, right? So let's say you're average Joe, average proportions, who trained really hard, really smart. It took you a year and a half to bench 225, right? So you're not gifted, but you also don't have major leverage disadvantages like long arms. And let's say it took you about 7 years to get to a 300 bench after hitting that. You're looking at to go from 300 to 315 unless you got to the 300 purely off rep work with no heavy singles or doubles. So it was all muscle. That's an exception to the rule. So let's assume you did heavy work, max effort work to get to that 300. So your neural drive's already up. For you to gain the muscle for a 315, you're looking at another 1 to 2 years if you're going to try to do that in that situation. Keeping in mind, there's kids who bench 315 in 19 their first year in the gym, but they're freaks, right? You know, so that's the way to look at it. So instead of saying, is it a lot of muscle? Well, yeah, it's a lot of muscle. It's possibly a year or two worth of work for you. That's significant, man. You guys like how I handle the trolls now? Notice I don't acknowledge. I don't even read it. We just get rid of them. Oh man, it's so much smoother. How much more pleasant is it? By the way, for the trolls, if you guys want to post and not be banned, just post in the comments sections. I've not been banning in the comments. I'm only banning in my live streams. So now you're getting yourself completely removed and you got to make new accounts. If you want to talk smack, do it under the comments. I'm just not going to put up with it in the live streams because these are important for the overall views. I'm just not going to allow it anymore. All right. Hello, sir. How are you? I'm doing good, Muddy. How about you, man? It's usually out the bench to these kids. I don't know what you meant there. 200 tests, 100 primo, a good starting point, a reasonably lean guy. Yeah, that's a good little, I mean, it's going to be super mild. Like, you're not going to make any sort of crazy gains off that, but it'll be clean gains. It'll be real clean, real solid. And for a lean guy, that'll probably work because 200 tests is going to be very, very minimal D2. 100 primo to offset it, you'll be good. I don't know, guys. Am I looking less full? Like I'm getting self-conscious since I've been on just TRT. I've started to get, but man, guys, I'm not looking. Now, granted, the veins aren't popping because of the temperature. It's cold out. I don't know. I just ate a double bacon chili cheese pastrami burger and a pot of chili beans. That's a lot of food, man. I don't know that that would be my recommendation for healthy eating. I'm not a big bacon guy. Uh, Most high school varsity football players bench at least 200. Yeah, generally more. Thanks, Coach. I'm happy you're cleaning up the live streams and the series posters because I think we need, because I've let them run wild and I ran the analytics. It doesn't help me at all, not one bit. So let's get rid of them. But they help me under the comments. So I want them to talk crap in the comments. So I'm going to let them keep doing that. That actually helps me. All right. Why don't you arch? I do arch. I just don't arch aggressively, and it's not comfortable for me to arch aggressively. I guess with my back, it's always been difficult. I've got a really thick back, thick erectors. They cramp easy. Because again, keep in mind, you've seen me do just straight up rep 550 on the deadlift. And as an old dude, that takes a lot of back. I'm trying to get my good morning back to 500 plus. That's a short-term goal. I would be a better bencher if I focused on arching more. You are right. I would have a bigger bench. And I might need to arch a little more to hit a 405 or something. Especially with this wingspan, man, that tip to tip. Dude, my tip to tip is 6'1". It's like, are you serious? But I love it on the deadlift. But I just got to keep getting bigger. Like I can build more muscle to get the bench up. You just have to keep getting big. The mobility is not my problem. It's flexibility. Here's the thing too, Francis. I could try doing some of that. I've done tips and stuff on that in the past. I'm going to have to start foam rolling on the bench and working that. With 250 test 100 people being more, now we're getting into some nice little gains. Yeah, that would be real strong. Especially a leaner guy can get away with that real easy too. I think you'll have pretty good E2. Like if you're in that maybe 10 to 13% body fat range, that'll probably perfectly control your E2. I mean, you can get bloods to double check it. Shadow bulking. Shadow, I maintain on 4,000, dude. I'm knocking down. I did this weekend. I think I hit like 4,200 yesterday. I don't lose weight on that. But I don't eat junk, dude. No, it's the bacon. The bacon and stuff is not good. And yeah, get rid of that stuff, dude. That is dirty, nasty bulking. You're going to get fat. You're going to get diabetic, brother. Eat you some peanut butter. Right? Get some natural peanut butter. You'll live longer. Just hold up. Let me check something. I'm going to say something. I think what I'm seeing here. Okay. And this is meant with nothing but love. I don't want anyone to, please don't take this the wrong way. Shadow, am I correct in looking at your avatar that you are African American? And if that's correct, you're predisposed to diabetes and cardiovascular disease. In the best interest of your health, because I want you to live a long, happy, healthy life, I'm going to recommend you cut the bacon and the soda out and healthy bulk. Do peanut butter. Okay? I don't want you to die. All right. Coach, can deadlift potential strength be accurately predicted by markers like wingspan to height ratio? Potentially. I mean, no, you can't accurately predict because you have such strong outliers. But could you say that it is an advantage? Right? You can't stand there and look at a bone structure and say this person's potential deadlift is 560. Like, it doesn't work that way because we can always get bigger. More muscle, irrespective of your leverages. Plus, you're going to have to deal with neural drive differences, stuff like that. But, you know, what you have to think about in that terms is, yes, you could look at it and say it's an advantage or disadvantage. But wingspan to height, no. Height is an advantage across the board on the deadlift. Let's be clear on that. I don't know why dudes say stupid stuff like tall guys can't deadlift. That is the most ludicrous, ridiculous, insane idea I've ever heard. Tall guys literally have an advantage on the deadlift. Yes, the arm length matters, but even longer legs can help with certain aspects of the leverages. All the majority of the best deadlifters in the world are over 6 foot tall. Okay. Squatters tend to be at a slightly different height, right? You don't see many big squatters over about 6'2". So that's true. Like the really tall guys, like your strongest squatters start capping out at about 6 foot, maybe 6'1", and they're usually fat as hell. Like really fat guys who are slightly tall like that, they do really well on squats. But that's about where it caps. Deadlifts, dude, being 6'6" or 6'7" is a straight advantage on the deadlift. You're just trying to just mog more weight. Like I watched even a really pretty thick guy at a meet a while back who was about 6'3", 6'4". Then I think he was pushing about 280. I watched him come in and just mog 850. But his bench was only in the 400s. Right? His squat was, I want to say maybe 600, maybe a little more. But the dude pulled like 850. Fairly lean, taller guy in that range. Long arms, long legs. So just to put it in perspective. So height in general is an advantage on deadlift. Yeah, dude. Tall dudes destroy deadlifts. Long arms are always an advantage, but legs don't hurt you there. The only difference is the tall guy really has to really focus on hamstrings. Like if he has really long legs, he does have to build big hamstrings to pull. And it's not that tall guys aren't stronger, it's that their relative gets really, really bad. Like if you train on similar programming and drugs and everything, a guy 6 inches shorter than you is going to destroy you every time on pound per pound. You cannot hang with them, not even close. Like it's going to be disgusting. Like even if you have similar genetic potential, you follow the exact same coach for the same number of years and you use the exact same drugs, right? You both run the same cycles as each other as twinsies. If you're 5'10" and your bro is 5'4", and y'all do that for 10 years, he's going to absolutely destroy you pound for pound. You will not hang with him. You'll beat him out on absolute. Right? That's just how it works. You cannot hang with a short guy pound for pound. Because people be like, well, you only bench 10 pounds more than him, but he's 40 pounds lighter, 50 pounds lighter. It's like, yeah, that's how it works. He moves the bar 4 inches. And it's just the way it's going to happen. Coach, you say about height. If that guy trained, he could probably pull 500 within a year, possibly. Yeah, tall guys do really well on deadlifts if they learn how to do it and they don't hurt themselves doing goofball stuff. That's really your issue. You guys all following me on Facebook? Peppermint, you follow me on Facebook. Give a brother a follow. How about my Instagram? Hold up. You're like, we're not on Facebook. Yeah, but you guys are on Instagram. Don't tell me you follow me all the time on YouTube and you're not on any social media. I'm just not buying it. I don't know why they make Instagram so difficult to link, though. Let's see. theory should work. I need to keep them stored better as hyperlinks. Follow me on Instagram. Because I hate that when people ask me what I eat, and I'm like, Facebook and Instagram, I show a lot of my meals and I show my grocery basket. So literally 90% of my groceries, you see my actual grocery baskets on social media. Like there should be no confusion as to what a trip to the grocery store looks like. You know? Hold on. Give me a second here, guys. I'll be right back. Yes, I have an Instagram. The problem is no one follows you on Instagram. Instagram's impossible to build. Like it takes me a year to gain 20 Instagram followers. I have no idea why. Maybe I don't understand the platform. I don't know how to use it correctly. I link it it's in all my videos too. So it's like I don't see how people don't know this. I have all my links set up everywhere on YouTube. So it's always strange to me when people don't realize I have all this other social media here. Jason, all about the booty and Insta Fitness, get that booty. That's what I need to do, man. I got to do Romanian deadlifts with my butt right up in the camera. That's how we do it, man. Same way the Insta chicks do it, right? Because there are plenty of dudes on there. Yeah, this shadow guy, he's at least not a malicious troll, so I'm going to let him stay for now, but no one cares about your farts, homie. Oh, okay. Well, did you follow me on Instagram just now? But Matt, I think you're right. We got to get the Instagram booty. Hey, Matt, you need coaching, by the way. I got slots open. You've been a follower a while. Just saying. All right. What else we got going on, guys? You get some ridiculous arguments on Facebook. I leave certain people just for the engagements, but there's people who make crazy arguments who are claimed to be doctors and trainers and everything. Hey, Jason, who's next on that or not? I literally have no idea. Like, I don't plan these ahead of time. So honestly, when I do a natty or not, sometimes I decide about 3 hours before the stream. Then this is way too early in the morning. I got a bench. Can we do Keno booty? Maybe. Yeah, I got to get my head straight to bench press. I'm hoping it feels as not cold in my garage as it did when I walked in there a bit ago, because it says it's 37 outside. Yeah, I'm going to do more podcasts. So I'm going to do more stuff with Ariel. John Bravo was chatting with me. He wanted my new number and he asked for it. So he's going to call me this weekend. I sent it to him. He didn't call me. We used to talk a lot, like you guys saw the thing. So it's like, bro, hit me up. So yeah, Ariel says she wants to do another one of those coming up. As soon as Adam wants to do one, I'll definitely do podcasts and get more of his people in. I think that'll just improve outreach. The main thing is working with people who aren't bothered by trolls. That's the hardest problem. Like people freak out, even when you warn them. Even when you warn them, like they're not prepared for it. They're like, oh, no, it'll be fine. And you're like, no, I mean, I'm serious. They're going to call your house. They're going to call your wife. I'm just letting you know. They're going to call your work, That's just the way it works. These crazy stalkers are obsessed, So if you work with me at all, your job is going to be better. This better be your career. because your work is going to get called. Just saying. They're going to be like, he works with this evil, horrible, 5'2", weird Nazi animal killer, crazy stuff they say about me. It's just insane. Oh my God. All right. But that's why then you work with more people like that who can handle the heat. Coach, will you treat a pulled hamstring like Dom's and go ahead and work out or wait? Rom, I need more information. Way more information before I answer that. I don't know that we can answer. Let's skip that in a live stream because I need way more detailed information than we can do in a live stream. Maybe pictures. I'm going to need you to anatomy. This is consultation level. This is actually stuff you probably need to be a client. I'm not even going to consultate you on this. Now you better be a full client where I can look at everything close. I won't even do this at $100 consultation. Fair? I'm going to need pictures of the bruising. I'm going to need to know where it hurts. We're going to need to assess movement. And then write your program based around what's going on there. Yeah, we'll train through it. But a muscle pull is nothing like Dom, so no. Right? Yeah, so that's the idea with podcast and exposure. You work with people who are used to being trolled. I don't like vague questions like that about people. I need you to ask me specific questions about Jim Wendler. Because my thoughts, we don't have 3 hours for me to analyze his whole training history and different coaching philosophies and what I disagree with and what I agree with and the good and the bad. We don't have that sort of time. Like that's, again, maybe you need to pay me for an hour of my time, $100, and I'll break it down. Consultation level, that's the stuff I'll sit down with you for an hour, but I don't want to spend an hour talking about Jim Wendler for free. So you're going to need to ask me a very specific question about maybe Wendler's philosophy or programming. So I generally like the guy, but I don't agree with a lot of his programming, if that's what you want. I like his attitude. I think some of his stuff is really good for intermediates. It's problematic beyond that. I think the 5-3-1 waves that he took from the other coach who wrote them for him before that, I think are arbitrary. The actual 5-3-1 part of the programming he does is actually pretty arbitrary. It falls back into voodoo, right? Yeah, he's a good coach generally. But what I'm saying is that sort of wave loading is psychosomatic in response. It's not physiological, right? It creates placebos. That's the whole point. It doesn't do anything magical that just coming in and doing a heavy triple wouldn't do, right? But you know that, right? Dudes don't realize that stuff. They think there's something magical about those percentages in the programming and the 3-week waves, and there's not. That is how we as coaches trick our clients into a placebo and to just keep them getting stronger on other stuff while we build them up over time. It's a distraction. But that's part of the art of coaching. But I don't like placebo style programming. And I've done it if I have to, but I prefer not to use that approach. The only problem is that when you refuse to use placebo, some clients are like, well, why isn't this more complex? Why aren't we doing this? It's harder for them to buy in. People will buy into placebo mental games. How wide is your bench press? Like, are you looking for specs on it, or are you asking for my grip width? If you're asking for grip width, no specs, you'll have to go look it up. It's the Titan competition bench. I don't have the specs. You'll have to go look it up. But if you go to Titan's website, you can find it, I'm sure, unless they've changed it to a newer one. I'm gripping right now, usually ring finger on the rings. That's generally where I'm at. But I'm going to adjust that around a little some. Interesting that you're not being 91. I don't know that he really was. I don't know that he really was. I've heard other coaches speculate and say from back in the day, again, just rumors, that Ronnie's big advantage with the drugs was that he didn't get side effects for the most part. He seemed to be extremely resistant to steroid side effects, which means he could run larger amounts longer and not have the blood pressure issues and other stuff. I don't know that he was natural to any of that either. It's a nice theory. I'm not saying he didn't have ridiculous, insane genetics, but if we come back over to his drug advantage being resistant to side effects, he was just on less stuff in less time. And I think people forget that with bodybuilders and people they follow. Like we saw that all the time, and it's hilarious. Like when Boogs made some of these gains again, people are like, oh, he went on steroids. No, he went on insulin. He was already on steroids. Boogs had already been on steroids for 15 years. Okay. And I think people forget that over time, people keep getting bigger on gear. Right? So here's what I think where people misunderstand. Their assumption is that people make all these huge gains instantly off of gear. Well, no, that's usually water because you did a bunch of extra stuff. So if you think about it this way, you guys notice that natural lifters, they slowly gain muscle every year. The same thing is true if someone uses a certain amount of gear. They might get a little initial bump and then it just flattens out. And so here's like how I would describe it. And I'm not saying this is the actual exact math, but just to put it into context. So let's say someone is completely natural and they gain whatever X amount of muscle, and then they're gaining whatever, a pound of muscle a year after that. Okay. So when someone, say, goes on 500 tests, like a nice little moderate amount, if they just stay on it for years, here's what ends up happening. They'll get a little initial boost again. They'll get some new gains out of it. A few extra pounds of permanent muscle, not counting the water. And then they'll just continue to gain muscle at a slow rate, but it'll be maybe double what they would have gained natural. So instead of gaining a pound a year, they'll gain a couple pounds every year. Does that make sense? And then they just make slow, steady progress. And it's just going to be from that point, they got an initial boost, and then they'll gain, maybe double per year what they would have been gaining natural, plus that initial boost they got. And so it's also just a slow accumulation of muscle. Now, if they add something extreme in, then they get a big boost again. They go to a gram, they throw in some growth in insulin. You see where we're going with this? Then they'll get some boost, and then that's different. But for most guys, people forget that. They're going to continue to grow. And it just slowly accumulates. So again, everyone's looking for this big, fast. Well, yeah, sometimes when they up the dose, you'll see that. But that's because they did something extreme. Okay. And that's the dead giveaway that they did a really serious, aggressive blast, or significantly increased what they were taking, not that they went on. And anyone who's a long timer in the game is nodding, going, yeah, that's literally exactly how it works. All right. So, yeah. It's an interesting dynamic. And if people are smart, they don't lose their gear gains. It's when they quit training or they completely go off of no replacement dose. Okay, that's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. So again, in my case, I'm just on TRT at the moment, and I've been a little bit, just as big and just as strong. And I'm actually back to making some progress, like the squat. So, people need a context for this. Yeah, so guys don't really lose their gains unless they were on extreme amounts. But even then, they still can keep a lot of it. They'll lose water weight. They'll lose that boof. So that's also the sign that, so you'll see these pro bodybuilders, it's because they quit training. That's why they shrunk. Yeah, like Dorian Yates doesn't really lift anymore. He rides his bike, So yeah, he doesn't look like a lifter. When I saw him, at least, like he looked like someone who'd been going to the gym for 6 months, a year. But he also, at that time, I think, hadn't lifted weights in a few years at all. He just rode his bike a lot. But guys who at least maintain a solid hormone profile and continue to lift, you'd be shocked how much of that size they keep. Do you like power cleans for explosiveness? Maybe. I think I think you'll get better explosiveness with less skill required by doing speed work, speed boxes. Who's your favorite president of all time? I'm going to go with George Washington because he's the GOAT. He's the OG, right? Yeah, keep it 100%. Yeah, Jay Cutler's still pretty big. And I believe Jay Cutler probably is just on TRT and maybe a small amount of growth. Because he's not trying to compete anymore and he probably only cares about his health. So I'd be willing to bet that's what Jay Cutler does. I have my issues with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did some good stuff. He also was problematic. There's some political stuff with the GOP I don't like what they did during that era, and I get why they did it, but it's created at least for me a lot of problems ideologically, and Reagan was a big part of that. And I don't like how it's put that era really started creating like our identity politics where you have to, these are our tenets of our religion. And if you violate any of the tenets, you're not a true conservative or a true liberal. Like it gets ridiculous. So that started with some of the Reagan era stuff that he did and the deals that they made. Do you think that President Trump could become the second greatest? If he gets rid of the IRS, he will be number 2 behind George Washington. Like that would be a big one for me. Straight up abolishing income tax. Go to completely tariffs, a 10% sales tax. No other. Get rid of all the rest. That alone would cut so much red tape and bureaucracy. That would save us ridiculous amounts of spending. Do you feel like you receive trolling due to your honest criticism of supplements, fitness products as a form of vengeance? 100%. I don't feel like I know for a fact. Like I saw proof back then. Literally, my original hate campaign was funded by supplement companies to do that, and then it spawned into true believers. I think a lot of my trolls and haters now are true believers. The original ones were not, but it was a sponsored campaign, and a lot of them were admitting in forums, look, we're getting $2,000 a month to troll the shit out of this guy and make videos and harass his families, and they were paying them $2,000 a month, like 5 dudes apparently, and they were talking about it openly, like on forums, like who were making stuff like, dude, we're getting a paycheck for this, and we're going to run this guy into the ground. So they were dishing out about $10,000 a month. apparently, that if I were to go off of that. But that was like 2014 or so. But that's what created an original campaign that just blew up. Sorry to hear. Why would a YouTuber exactly? I mean, so did you hear Mike Israetel address me one time? Did you hear Mike Israetel said one time in a stream? And I was like, and people linked it to me, and because I've known Mike, we've had conversations in the past. Mike got up and said the thing. He's like, "Why do you want people to be honest about all this stuff?" He goes, and I think his words were something like, "Be careful about being too honest." He goes, "Blaha was honest, and look what they did to him." He's kind of like word of caution about being too honest about the industry. He goes, "Look what they did to him." Because they pretty much crucified him. As a warning. And that's fair. So you've got a valid point. Why would anybody be honest about the supplement industry? They didn't try, Ram. Hey, Ram, they didn't try. They successfully made an example out of me. Mike Israetel said that in a live stream, gosh, about 5 or 6 years ago. Yep. He goes, "Look what they did to Blaha for it." He goes, "You got to be real careful about being too honest." I'm still going strong, but I've never bounced back. Like literally, no, my social media and my YouTube has never bounced back from that. My coaching did, my training did, I have. My YouTube, no, it has never rebounded from that hate campaign fully. I don't have $5,000 months on YouTube anymore. I don't think people realize I was clearing 50 grand a year for a while on literally just YouTube. Literally just YouTube. So my coaching really is what I live on now. Yep. Did any other companies? No, not really. They're not going to warn you. They just go in. I was warned not to mess with Lane, but it was already too late. Like other people, and as soon as that fight started, there were people who messaged me. They're like, "Dude, don't mess with him. He's crazy. Like he's scary crazy." Like someone who I'm friends with who's a big name literally is like, "Dude, he's a psychopath and he scares the shit out of me personally. I don't mess with him." That was a warning I got, but it was kind of too late at that point. What do you do? You think Mike's content? Yeah, it's definitely gone downhill. Once he started pushing all his RP apps and everything, Mike's content went downhill. He used to actually have good information, really good stuff 10 years ago. All right, guys. I think we are about to wind this down, though. So, need to start getting my head straight. Get a little more caffeinated. Want to do some heavy benching and some floor presses. So, hope it's been informative. Give you guys a forearm shot before we go. It's not a good angle. I don't feel like giving a forearm shot. I get my head straight to train. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.